friends. We are reading Ghost Academy by A.C. Farrell, and we are on chapter 15. The next morning, we meet Kaz at the front of the school. We haven't seen him since the blow-up with Landon this weekend. I'm still not positive we can trust him, but I know we need his help. Even though Rafe and I have made a lot of progress, we haven't even attempted ghost travel yet. Kaz is our only means of transportation. As Rafe and I stroll toward him, I offer my best smile, ready to get the show on the road, or in the sky. Kaz grins. That's not exactly accurate, but I'll take it. He rubs his chin with a forefinger and thumb, his brow wrinkling. But before we do, about what Landon said in the rec center, he's right. I used to be an Xer, but I swear I'm not anymore, and I will do everything in my power to protect you from them. If you're not comfortable with having me as your ghost guide, I'll understand. Rafe and I exchange a glance. Either we've done a horrible job hiding our own concern, or Kaz just knew he needed to speak to it. Do ghost guides have special powers apart from finding the newly dead who need them? Obviously, they have a certain amount of magic and spells, but is there more? I'm definitely not asking nearly enough questions. I guess the amnesia has distracted me a little. Thanks, Kaz, Rafe says, extending a hand. I know all about regret. Got more than enough of my own. They shake and Kaz lifts a brow at me. What about you, Billy? I tap my chin with a pointer finger. Well, okay, but if you try to trap me in an ugly locket or something, we're going to have words. Kaz laughs. Don't worry, lockets aren't my style anyway. If anything, I'd use a hideous brooch. I chuckle, still a bit wary, but willing to give the guy a chance. After all, I still have no idea who I used to be. If when my memory comes back, I discover I was some kind of horrible human being, I'll want a little mercy and understanding myself. Better not to make enemies because I decided to stick my nose up at somebody. Now we've got that out of the way, a few things before you leave, Kaz says. Even though I'll stay connected with the two of you and I'll help you if you get in trouble, most of this has to be on you. We've found that when ghost guides interfere, it actually makes passing on more difficult in the long run. Why is that, I ask. Kaz spins the watch on his wrist. It's complicated, but the simplest way to put it is that you don't feel like you're the one who completed it, which, as I'm sure you can understand, causes snags. Then why can't we help each other? Rafe cracks his knuckles with a thumb. That's the other thing. Kaz looks at me. Remember that you're there as a support and encouragement. Ultimately, Rafe has to do this himself. I give him a thumbs up. Got it. Help, but don't help. Easy peasy. And not at all difficult to follow. Kaz smirks. Exactly. He clicks his tongue. That should be it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And if you get into trouble, just call out and I'll bring you back. Ready? Rafe shoves both hands into his pockets, his whole person tinged a little green. I hope so. It's natural to be nervous, Kaz says, especially if you haven't been drawn to a certain person or place. But sometimes you have to take that first step before you're pulled in the right direction. Keep in mind what you've already accomplished so far. Soups would be in a lot more trouble if it wasn't for you. A little smile flicks across Rafe's face. Right. I swallow and pull my hair back, clutching it with a fist. Well, then let's take that first step, huh? Kaz touches our shoulders and we're again wrapped in that insanity burrito. It carries us through the air, across cities and fields, and hellish traffic circles until we hit the ground in the middle of a forest. The scent of pine swells up around us. Birds chatter and small creatures scurry through the bushes nearby. I take in the rocks and trees and patches of snow. A creek gurgles a few feet from us, its tiny waves catching the sunlight pouring through the branches above. It's peaceful, quiet, and if we didn't have unfinished business to take care of, I definitely want to chill out on that rock close to the bank. Spinning in a small circle, I face Rafe again. My shoulders tense when I see his face. He's staring at the water, dark eyes narrow, jaw tight, his neck as he breathes slowly, though it loosens a bit, easing out little by little. When his hands finally unclench, I try again. Do you feel, drawn anywhere? It sounds straight up stupid, but also makes sense based on the questions our teachers have been asking at Locklear. Mr. Q made it sound like we were ready for this, but even with everything we've learned, I feel unsteady and ill-equipped. Rafe exhales slowly and shuts his eyes. I inch forward, intentionally allowing the leaves to pass through my boots, so I won't distract him. What does that tug feel like? It sounds like he's experienced it once before, but seems to be struggling to find it now. After another minute or so, he shakes his head and looks up at me. Nothing. I don't feel anything. Rafe growls and kicks at a rock. Why can't I feel anything? Maybe. I chew a thumbnail, trying to figure out the right thing to say. Maybe it takes a minute. If you're upset, how else am I supposed to feel? Rafe snaps, pacing toward the creek, then back toward me. For some reason, whoever or whatever is in charge of all this doesn't seem to think it's important for me to find my little sister, who's been missing for who knows how long, and might be. His voice cracks and he stops, fingers laced behind his neck. Might be. I take a chance, move a little closer. Hey, focus on the first thing, huh? What happened here by this creek? With a sigh, Rafe shoves one hand in his pocket. I think the one where he keeps that bike lock, and faces the bank again. He takes a few slow breaths before saying, Paige and I came out here to swim one day after school. His eyes slide out of focus as he turns like he's watching it all happen over again. We were racing each other back home, something we did all the time. I had to make sure we showed up at the same time. Our mom's really protective of her. Rafe's voice cracks again. He swallows and starts off, away from the creek, the sound of clicking coming from his pocket. Still careful of my steps, I follow, wishing for once I could read minds rather than connect with the dead. We walk for a long time before Rafe finally speaks again. I was close to home. Rafe's Adam's apple bobs as he stares through the trees at a gray wood house with smoke curling up from the chimney. This group of guys, wolf shifters who graduated a few years ahead of me, stopped me right here. I should have shifted back into human form. Then they wouldn't have been able to get me in that cage. Anger rages up from my gut and threads tension through my jaw. I grind my back teeth together, trying to breathe through the furious red haze screaming in my mind, and focus on Rafe's story. Rafe's pocket clicks again and he shakes his head. They threw me in a trunk so I couldn't see where we went. I have no idea when or where they grabbed Paige, but they took us to this cabin, told me they'd kill her if. He trails off, then moves forward, hovering just above the ground as if a force beyond his control is dragging him toward the house. Maybe he's finally feeling that unfinished business tug. I follow, passing through a shabby fence and gliding just behind Rafe. Dirty snow lays in clumps throughout the backyard. Dusty camp chairs sit on the wide back porch. A light inside illuminates a patched gray couch and dinged-up furniture. The woman standing in the kitchen drinking from a glass tumbler has a hard face and high cheekbones. I don't see any of Rafe in her features. I edge a little closer to get a better look into the room, stopping beside Rafe, who now stares at the woman with an expression I can't quite read. His brows wrinkle and his lips are pressed together so tight they lose their normal color. Inside, pictures hang on the wall above the round table in the breakfast nook. 3 older boys who share Rafe's jawline and dark hair smile out of their frames. Just below them, a little girl with his dimple displays a wide grin, but there's a spot next to her that's clearly empty. The wallpaper is faded around a perfect square space where another picture must have hung. A new wave of anger ignites in my chest, but when I look at Rafe and see the pain twisting his face, sadness adds its wail to the raging fury. Rafe, I've always been a disappointment to her, he says in a voice so quiet I can barely hear him. But I didn't think. Rafe mashes the heels of his hands into his eyes, the muscles along his forearms laced with tension. When he looks up again, the pain tilts anger toward anger, twisting his lips into a sneer and pulling his brows low. He drops his fists to his sides, and the glass in his mother's hand shatters. We both jump, almost at the same time she does. As she shakes her head and starts to clean up the glass, Rafe covers his mouth, grabbing his arm. I haul him away from the window, dragging him back into the forest. When we're almost to the creek, I stop and take Rafe's shoulders. I didn't mean to do that, he says. I didn't know I could do that. I wouldn't blame you if you had, though I probably would have broken every window in the house. Guess you're a step ahead of everybody in Corporal Telekinesis. My attempt at a smile falters. She's right to hate me, though. Rafe squeezes his eyes shut, tears slide down his cheeks. It's my fault Paige was kidnapped. I should have taken better care of her. I cup his face, grazing my thumbs over the scars he still carries around from when he died. All at once, images play across my vision, like my own life flashes. They're translucent, but still painfully clear. A much younger Rafe shifts out of fox form alongside a little girl with pigtails, obviously Paige. Tiny bits of blood splotch one of her knees, but she laughs, dancing toward their mother and waving her arms in the air. Mommy, shifting is so much fun. Rafe showed me the best places to chase frogs, but... What on earth happened to your knee? Rafe's mom asks, sinking down to look at the scrape. Paige waves a hand. Just bumped it on a rock. I know my awesome new shifter powers will make it heal real fast, but do we have the band-aids with the race cars on them? I still want one. Rafe's mom purses her lips through a glare at her son before sending Paige off to patch her rapidly healing knee. The second the little girl disappears into the other room, his mom springs upright, claws out. They draw blood across Rafe's bare chest. He barely reacts other than to step backward. How dare you let her get hurt? You are so irresponsible. She lashes out again, this time dragging marks down his shoulder blades when he sinks to the floor, covering his head. It is your job to take care of her. As the memory fades away, Rafe swallows. Did you see that? A lump forms in my throat. Yes. It takes every ounce of my self-control not to float back to his house and break every piece of glass she owns. What kind of mother does that to her kid? I get protecting the youngest, and I understand that the shifter community is different, but what that woman did is next level messed up. Another thought smacks me in the forehead. How did that waste of good oxygen deal with Rafe's body? And how in the realm of the dead do I ask a morbid question like that? At the very least, we have to find it, protect it from the Xers. I can't watch him burst into flames and lose his sense of self. Rafe, we should probably try to find. The sound of a gunshot cuts me off. Rafe and I spring apart, turning to face a small group of men and women dressed in sweater vests and khakis. Sweater vests like Kaz. Every last one of them is aiming rifles in our direction, and they can most definitely see us. The contrast of their clothing to their weapons is so startling. All I can do is stare at first. Xers. Instinctively, I know who they are. A light flash tries to pop into my vision, but one of their guns goes off again. Pain sears through my shoulder, knocking me backward as I let out a little cry. Shock stops me more than anything else. You shot me. It comes out more like I'm offended by an insult than suffering from a bullet wound. Black shadows snake into the air from the hole just below my clavicle. Confusion wraps around me as my brain attempts to make sense of this. I'm dead. How can I possibly get shot? Before my stupid musings can get me into more trouble, Rafe whips me out of the way of another bullet and puts his back to the Xers. One of the guns goes off again. He stumbles forward, wincing and letting out a grunt, then lifts me into his arms. I squeeze my eyes shut against tears as fire pulses up my neck. Curling into Rafe's chest, I focus on his cedar scent. Air rushes around me. He shouts something I don't understand at first, then I realize is a single word. Kaz. I squint, but everything around me ripples, smearing a blood into a blurred mess. Even with the fog clogging my senses, I recognize the Xers' chants. Cold fear hardens in my gut. They're trying to trap us, lock us into a nearby object. Power tugs at my every essence, and I cling to Rafe. I can't let this happen. I won't let this happen. With absolutely no thought as to how, I know the words. I murmur a counterspell under my breath. Our magic collides, pushing against each other, resisting opposing purposes. Mine shoves Rafe and me away from the Xers. I can't see them, but I know it's happening. We stumble into Kaz, who grabs my arm and Rafe's shoulder. as we touch down at Locklear. The last thing I see is Rafe bending over me, fading off into shadow.